Today we're going back to the iris data set, the first scatter plot that we created, and we're going to look at the what's called in D3 the general update pattern. And this means that now we're able to create a legend here for our three iris types, and we can click them on and off as we choose. So this is, this is proper interactive visualization. The code is it's a little tricky, but it's not impossible, and obviously it's very rewarding once you get it to work. So we'll get down to that. So we'll start off in GitHub where the original iris plot was, and we're going to go to the third of them, which is the section where we added the axes, because that is the fullest amount of code. I'm going to copy across iris into our data folder. Just click the copy icon, create a new file in data called iris.csv, paste it, and there we go, that's all done. And now we're going to get the graph data, so we go back to GitHub, open graph, copy it. Of course I don't need to do that, I just need to click the copy button here, click that, select everything here, replace it with the original iris data, and now we'll launch the terminal to get a look at it. You notice I'm using Python 3 here where I used just Python beforehand. The reason for that is because I've updated my Python to Python 3.13. I'd been putting it off and I got around to it, so that's the reason for the change. So we go home, and this is our iris data as we know and love it. The tooltip is a bit messed up because I haven't updated the CSS yet, the same with the axis labels. But anyway, this is the basic iris data, and we're going to take this as it is and we're going to make it interactive. So we'll go through the original data now, and we're going to delete what we don't need anymore. Just shut down the terminal first, give ourselves a bit of room. I should say as well, when you're doing this yourself, you won't have the code blown up this high. It's only blown up to this size, so you can see it on YouTube. When you're doing it yourself, you keep it as small as doesn't hurt your eyes. Okay, so the plot, the scale, all that business stays. We'll get rid of the visualization because that's going to be wrapped in a function that'll called update. That's going to become the workhorse of this thing. We keep the axes, we keep the axis labels, we keep the tooltip. So the only thing that we ended up getting rid of was the actual visualization. Okay, we'll start adding the new bits now. So the first new bit we're going to add is going to be a convenience array, or in this case a convenience set called categories, and we're going to use the method we've used before, which is new set data.map d access d species. So this gives us the three species, and we're going to use categories to create our labels, and the labels will also be our menu, what we're going to use to turn on and turn off the different categories. So we'll create the legend first. So a slightly unusual position, having a legend before we have a visualization. So anyway, create the legend, canvas pen G, and we'll give it a class of legend, and then we're going to create a label menu object which will select all legend on legends. The data is interesting here because we're not going to use we're going to convert our set into an array using the array from method with categories as a parameter, and then we're going to call sort on that so that the three species will appear in alphabetical order. They don't have to, but it's easier when things appear in alphabetical order. Your brain doesn't have to, it just easier on the brain. So enter append text. The attribute is class legend label. The X attribute will be the width of the plot minus 5. So we're going to go to the very edge of the table and we're going to write in from the left. We'll set a text anchor point to end so that it'll be just in off the right hand side of the plot. And then to calculate the different y value for the three categories, we'll iterate over D and I, where I is index. So we start 25 pixels from the top, and then multiples of 25 after that. The text D maps to D because there's no it's a plain array. There's no objects in the array, so D is all that's there. It's just the actual label. And then the fill will be scale color, because again that makes it easier on the brain if the label legends are the same color as the dots on the scatter plot. Okay, we're as well to launch the Fox and see if this thing came out. We haven't styled it that much yet. We just want to see is it there. It's not there. Damn. But a reason it might not be there is because I didn't set the text anchor. So we'll go into the CSS. We'll get rid of this old stuff from previously. Never be afraid to delete. So we set legend label, and that'll have a text anchor of end, and we'll just leave it at that for the time being. We can tart it up later, but right now we just want it there, right? We just want to see is it working, is it appearing okay before we start doing anything more complex in the actual code. It's not there. We'll take a look. See are there any error messages. There's an error message. Visit. Okay, so it's throwing an error because it's we, as part of the tooltip, we still have this object viz that was created by the scatter plot, but that isn't anymore. So it sees viz and it says, "What the hell is viz?" Doesn't know what viz is. Throws an error. So once we get rid of viz, here are our labels now appearing as they ought to. We're going to move the margin on the right hand side just to give them a bit more room. Up we go. The right is currently 20. We'll try 50. That's a little better. And we're going to have to set the text anchor for the axis labels as well. Let's just check what their class name is. It's axis label. I know you can't see it there. I'll have it blown up the next time, because we'll be going back and forth to the console a bit as we do. But anyway, back to the CSS and set axis label. And actually, we can do both of these because they both have the same setting for text anchor. So we can go legend label, axis label, with just a comma between them. Relaunch the Fox. When you change the CSS, you're better killing the Fox rather than trying to refresh. It doesn't refresh CSS very well. Okay, that's great. Now we go to the heavy lifting. So heavy lifting in the current case is the update function, and the update function controls all the drawing of the plots. So it's it's obviously the most important thing of all of this. I was trying to decide where to put it in, and I was well to put it in after the scales because that's where I've drawn most of the visualizations prior to now. So it's a function update, and it takes a parameter current data, and we'll just label this as where the magic happens, just to remind yourselves and go through it as carefully as I can. So we go plot select all circle, and then data is unusual in that everywhere we've seen so far, data takes one parameter, which is an array of data. But here, as well as the data array, there is a selector method, an accessor method, I should say, excuse me. And we'll note that uh, you have to tell it what to use as the filtering label, as what you're going to filter on, what you're going to use to set the what data is shown and what data is hidden. And if you don't set it an accessor, it'll set by index, and everything will go haywire on you, and you won't know why. So take a careful note. Set an accessor. The accessor is the same as what you're using in the legends. Okay. So after that, plot select all circle data. You're calling join, and join takes three different functions. One is called enter, one is called update, and the last is called exit. Update and exit are simple, tidy up functions that work under the hood. Update returns update, exit returns exit.remove. Right, that's all you need to know about those functions. It's the enter function, the first of the join parameters, that you need to concentrate on. So you've joined with, we'll spell it out, right? You call join on plot select all circle data, and join takes three functions as parameter: enter, update, and exit. Then you pin style fill d color scale d species at the end. That has to go on the end, or else things won't go right. So again, I'll list out the three parameters for joins: enter, update, exit. Update and exit are simple. Enter is less simple. So I'll go into enter, and enter is the essentially it's the scatter plot that we've looked at all this time, except where we had plot append circle, we now have enter append circle. Then we have three attributes and a style. The attributes are, as you'd expect, cx, center x, cy, center y, a radius or, and the style. I'll get round to cx is x scale petal length, cy is y scale petal width. Again, these are the same as they have been before. And the radius is set to 5. And this style is the same as the style that we've pinned at the end. So we'll just copy it up because we don't want to exhaust ourselves typing. I'll just paste it in there. So style is unusual in that it's called twice. Nothing else is called twice. So the enter function, of the three functions that are the parameters of the join function, enter is the one that does the actual plotting. And I see that I just turned off the volume on my machine here. Don't mind that, that doesn't matter. That's just me trying to make sure I've got all the code right and hitting the wrong key. Doesn't matter here. So I'm just checking now where this floating brace belongs. Does it belong where it is? Yeah, it's fine. This is the final brace of enter. Can't be too careful with braces in JavaScript. Now, the tooltip that exists from the first time out, we're going to move here into this update, because if we don't, it won't have any scope. The creation of the tooltip itself is fine. The tooltip text function is fine. It's how the tooltip responds to mouse over and mouse out that has to be moved into the scope. So that's fine. We just comment all this back. We remove viz because viz no longer exists. It can't exist because we're going to keep changing. The data changes as the label is clicked. So it's better not to use viz because it might get confused and fall between two stools. Or worse, you or I might get confused, which is the worst situation of the lot. Okay, let's run this and hope it's working. It's not working. Oh, okay. There's good news here because I've realized why it's not working. We have an update function that draws the scatter plot, but we haven't called the update function. So obviously if we call it, it'll appear. So we go back to the plot, go down to the bottom, the last part of the code. The very last thing we call update, and the first time we call update, our data is data as it exists. Fantastic. Okay, that appeared. We're incredibly happy about that. The tooltip is a little malformed, and the dots are overlapping the label. We can fix those. They're small problems. Now, the problem with the label is that the label isn't doing anything. And the reason the label isn't doing anything is because we haven't asked it to do anything just yet. But we're going to attend to that just as soon as we've tidied the tooltip a little. So we'll set the height to 100 and we'll set the width to 162 because that's more visually pleasing. This is the world famous golden ratio. Lower the border radius a bit. And we're going to set the cursor to pointer for the legend label, because if you don't, how are people going to know that you're meant to click it? We'll also give it a slightly more impressive font. This is one of the label fonts. You know, it's a heavier, it's a chunkier thing. It's not something that you use as text, but it's just fantastic. A font like Impact is fantastic for what we're going to use it for, which is to have that bit of presence. So launch the Fox, see how this works out. Okay, it's looking better. We click our things, nothing happens. Again, that's because we haven't told it what to do on click. And that's what we're going to do now. We'll just increase that right margin another, because you know, we have plenty of real estate here. We don't want things crowded. Tooltip looks great. That's all fine. We'll go in and make the legends work. So this is inside the update function as well. And we'll call it operate in the legend menu. Should be the label menu, I suppose. So label menu on. Just change that, right? Just to get it right. Label menu on click takes a function. The function has one parameter. The parameter is E, short for event. And what we want to do, we want to identify what's been clicked. And we're going to call what's been clicked a label. We identify this by calling D3 select with this as the parameter. And then we call text to find the text property of what's been clicked, which will be the one of the three species, because that's what the text is. Now, the next thing to do is to question how do we respond to this label. And what we're going to do is we're going to ask categories, does this label exist in categories? And if it, that is to say, categories has label, and if it does have a label, we're going to ask it to delete it. And if it doesn't have the label, we're going to ask it to add it. So it's a very simple ternary function. Does this label exist in categories? If it does, get rid of it. If it doesn't, add it. And I'll just put in notes here. Just JavaScript actually, just to be discursive for a moment, JavaScript is a little light with the comments, and I think it would be better with more comments. People disagree about comments. They're all wrong except me. Okay, so our last comment is so that now that we have our categories adjusted, so we've either removed or added a category according to what the user has clicked. And now we're going to create a second data array called filtered data. And we are going to filter our data, our original data, which is in universal scope. And we're going to filter according to whether or not the species part of the data is in categories. Categories has these species is our test. And then finally we call update with filtered data as its parameter. And then we launch the Fox and see is it working. And it's working like a dream. Just get rid of all of them, return all of them, turn them off, turn them on. Fantastic. Couldn't have gone better. Very, very happy with that. So your homework is to examine carefully that update function, and particularly join. Join takes join is a function that takes three functions. Enter, update, exit, and that is how this thing works. Okay, please like and subscribe to the channel. See you next week, and in the meantime, peace and long life. Live long and prosper.